And the Rossello telegram leaks in Puerto Rico, in the college political scandals on both sides, people, and online radical groups on both sides. It starts with jokes and then ends with justification. Look at the Charlie Kirk murder. That's a case in point, right? Look at the state murder or the state representative murder in Minnesota. Even though from my understanding that was from someone from her own party mad that she kind of like jumped ship to a little bit to help get something passed. The bigger issue isn't whether these specific people lose jobs. It's whether can we get this culture replaced with accountability and ethics training in every political youth group, and heck, to be honest, every political group that goes all the way to old people. No offense, Democrat or Republican, right? I mean, to me, these things are like 101 that we should be teaching our children at home and our young people as they go through life. Because if they did this at a job, they would be out of a job. You want reform? Here's what some basic reform will look like: independent audits of youth political organizations, mandatory ethics certification for leadership, and it needs to be more than just you being able to recite a book. I despise that. When we're talking about these certification things, it's how do we put it in play? How do we make it happen? What's the guidelines? What's the framework we give these kids to make sure these things aren't happening? It's easy to say, read a book and be like, this is bad. This is a no-no. Well, that's the easy part, people. It's easy to do that. What it is, where the problem with a lot of training for a lot of these things come in is and I'm not talking about role playing, right? How do we get it implemented? How do we make this happen? How do we make it consistent? That's something we talk about in business, right? A lot is consistency. We have to be consistent with things like this. It's not okay no matter who it is. Public facing codes of conduct, right? With enforcement, bans on anyone caught spreading hate from holding office for a set term. I mean, if you're spreading hate and saying things about us, I don't know if that's going that far because that's up to the people. But yeah, I don't know. I know some people are out there saying that, but it's, I would be against ever voting for someone like that. I would never vote for someone like that. But man, that's a testy one. I believe that one should be up to the voters. I would not. I would vote for them not to be able to, but I'm not the end all be all authority on that one. And above all, like I've been talking about, right? Mentorship. Who's talking to these people? Who's coaching these young kids? Older conservatives really need to teach the younger ones that the power without empathy is a dead end, and you will lose everything you've worked for. You will lose it because people will abandon you. Nobody, especially a minority group's not going to stick around if you're doing things like this. Why would they? I sure as hell wouldn't. And this is about moral clarity, right? And how do we move forward? This for me, this isn't about left versus right. This is where the middle comes in, right? Because we should all be able to meet on the middle on an issue like this and do something about it. Stop making it about party politics. That's how we can solve this. If you truly believe in the conservative values in the platform, right? Faith, family, freedom, personal responsibility, you should be the first to condemn this hate, not the last. The United States, our America, doesn't need to engage in pushing more outrage and not fixing the problem. The courage that it takes, and it takes a lot of courage to look people that are on your side in the eye and say, that's not who we are. And that's what our top leadership in this country needs to do, especially if you're conservative. And to the Democrats listening, hold your side to the same standard because there's some people over there that spew things to a different degree, right? It's easy to go out there and find it just like it is easier for people on the right. But, use this to lead and say, we're all better than this. Can the GOP use this moment to purge extremism and rebuild credibility ahead of the 2026 elections?